Hi, welcome back to MPG Trio Reviews. Before we start the second episode, just want to say a big thanks to the response to our first video, The Gold Experience. It was really well received, got some great comments, and although it's a very long video, obviously as our first attempt at doing this, we had a lot to discuss. We weren't expecting thousands of views, but it's doing really well, bubbling along nicely, so we're really happy about that. So once again, I'm here with the Night Child and Mr. Purple Music. Say hi, guys.
Hello.
Bonjour. And you may be wondering then, what have we got served up for our second episode then? Well, MPG Trio is heading into the Batcave.
And what do you do for a living?
What are you?
I'm Batman.
Nobody can beat Batman.
I rock the party. I rock the house. Get those wonderful toys.
Yes, so we have chosen to review Prince's 1989 Batman motion picture soundtrack. And it's probably quite apt we're doing it this week because it's just celebrated its 29th birthday, its 29th anniversary, released 20th of June 1989. Incredible. Makes you feel old now. Well, it does me.
Makes me feel I've been a Prince fan for 29 years now. Thanks.
Absolutely, absolutely. But this is, again, one of those Prince albums, like The Rainbow Children, like Hit and Run Phase 1, that just splits opinion down the middle. People seem to either love this or they hate it. That seems to be what I find about Batman. Me holds a special place in my heart. This is the first Prince album that I ever bought. And funny enough, it wasn't actually Prince that made me buy it. It was the movie. I was obsessed with Tim Burton's Batman movie. I wanted everything that went with it, all the merchandise, posters, T-shirts, you name it, the works. I bought this book when the film came out. I still got everything about the film I was crazy about. So, of course, it happened to be the soundtrack as well, which was released just 10 days before my birthday. So on my 15th birthday, I toddled off to Woolworths and purchased the cassette to play on my Walkman, or as we said in Surrey, personal stereos, and listen to it. And yeah, that's where it all began. And when I think back now, I can't believe the journey that I was about to start and where it's taken me. Just incredible. So the 1989, the whole Batman period. Talk about it, guys. Who wants to step in first?
What a lovely insight into the world of Mr. Ant there, and him wandering around Surrey with his Sony Walkman listening to this. It's a real image that everyone's never
hey, personal stereo, mate. Personal stereo.
Sorry, yeah,
whatever. But I know, you, Jay, Mr. Nightchild, you've got a very similar story with Batman, haven't you?
Yeah, I mean, I was 14. I remember I was listening to the chart show where you sort of listen to tracks on your Walkman and sort of try and record them sometimes on your stereo to try and get them before the DJ spoke. And Batdance came on, and I'd never really heard Prince before. I realised I'd heard Chaka Khan's "I Feel for You," but I didn't know it was written by Prince. I didn't know who Prince was. And then suddenly I heard the beginning of that song. And it just sounded like no one else. And it was literally that day. The next couple of days I went out. Got like Sign of the Times and everything the video store had. So I mean, that was absolutely the beginning for me. And it was quite weird. I was a huge Michael Jackson fan up to that point. I still, like Michael Jackson, but after that point, that was Prince pretty much.
You started with videos, Jay. That's interesting.
Yeah, I literally didn't know what to do. So I'd heard the Batdance song. So I thought I went down to my local Blockbusters and went in there, and everything Prince they had the Sign of the Times, they had Love Sexy. And I think they had Under the Cherry Moon, I think, but they were like, I just literally watched the videos, and watching Sign of the Times was strange because the first song, I obviously didn't know any of his work. I didn't know where it fell in or what order it was, and then suddenly listened to that, and by probably about halfway through Plan of Sunshine, I thought, yeah, this is the guy. Once I saw that, I was there. But I was so go and get the Batdance, get the Batman album, and I love that whole kind of Batman thing, especially because Tim Burton was making it much darker. We forget now because the Christopher Nolan ones how dark that was for that time. Before then, true. Everybody all they'd known was the 1960s kind of more kind of out there campier version, and that's what Batman was. And people forget that I mean, looking back now, it doesn't seem anything like as dark as the ones that followed it. But now, back then, that was a huge thing, and they were like, this is a very much more realistic Batman, and it was a whole change. But listening to that track sometimes. Just the beginning of that track just changed everything, basically. Just changed, me being a Prince fan from then on. So yeah, that was I'll never forget that day. I can still see it in my mind at this moment.
Absolutely. What about you, Graham?
Yeah, I am obviously of a similar age to both of you, and
21, mate.
Yeah.
slightly older and slightly more debonair, but there we are. And this was probably the first Prince album that I bought on its release. I think everything else prior to that or after that came out of schedule, if that makes sense. So this was the first album that I bought on the day of release because of the era. So I discovered Prince a few years prior to that, but I hadn't really understood the back catalogue and everything that had come with it, because I just didn't think there wasn't the accessibility that we have now, where you could go and check out the discography online. So you didn't have that. So I didn't really know what order to buy. And apart from talking to people in record stores, it was difficult. So everything prior and post Batman was out of sync. But
Yeah.
Batman was the first Prince album that I bought. And exactly the same as you, Anne. I was obsessed by Batman when I was growing up. I've got the 1966 Dark Steel.
Nice.
I loved Batman, and I was very, very excited about what was happening with Tim Burton and the movie. Didn't really know that the Prince soundtrack was going to be part of it. So yeah, this has a huge sentimental place in my heart, this album, and it does divide opinions. But yeah, it's huge, and I loved everything that came with it. The marketing that was behind the movie, and I went to see the film at the cinema, and the two things are so beautifully linked. So the tracks that interlace with the film and the songs that interlace with the movie, they're just such a beautiful synergy. The two albums, it has a very, very special place in my heart. Yeah.
Absolutely. I mean, but Prince, like Jay was saying, Tim Burton, this was a dark Batman that we'd never seen before at that period. As you say, we were used to the camp 60s thing, and Prince literally just took it and ran with it. I mean, he really did. He managed to encapsulate what Tim Burton was doing in the music, I feel. Just captured that perfectly, that dark and that brooding, that kind of Gotham that we'd not seen before. And, it was really, really exciting at the time. Really exciting.
I love the fact that Prince, it seemed so typically Prince that, because the story goes that, Jack Nicholson was sort of using 1999 and Baby on the Star, and he was sort of a big fan of Prince, and Tim Burton was using him as sort of placeholders in the movie so they could do certain scenes. And it's interesting in the sense that Tim Burton stuck very much to that, in the sense of a use trust, Party Man as those two sort of set pieces. I mean, obviously you have Scandalous, you have clips of Vicki Waiting in the future, but he stuck very much to that. But it's so typical Prince that instead of saying, yeah, I'll write the two songs, he's like, no, I'm going to write an album, I'm going to do a whole thing straight away, and I'm going to go out with Kim Basinger, and I'm going to it's just a whole kind of like, he just swoops in there and does everything. I love that. And I think also it's quite fortuitous in a sense, because certainly in America, Love Sexy have been difficult because of the cover and various things. It's been much more popular in Europe, whereas I think Warner Brothers thought, well, hold on, this is the banker. This is a surefire success. It's going to be a huge hit. We're going to guarantee our money. Prince wanted to do Graffiti Bridge, and I think this helped both Prince and Warner Brothers, because Warner Brothers get their marketing, they get their money out of it. They make as no risk investment, and the downside is obviously on the hits you don't get Batdance, you don't get that song on there. But for Prince's point of view, I think it helped him because it gave him a bit of a financial hit after Love Sexy, which then I think made him in quite a good position for Graffiti Bridge when he says, I want to make a movie, I want this, I want that. Because as far as Prince is concerned, he just went back to what he was going to do with Graffiti Bridge. And I think that helped him, because then Graffiti Bridge didn't always do massively well kind of in terms of sales, but then he hit that sort of game of bounce to go into Diamonds and Pearls, which did really well. So these kind of commercial hits also allowed Prince to do the things he wanted to do artistically as well. So I think it's a perfect time, really.
Yeah, that's a good point. Yeah,
I think it gave him a platform, and the three of us wouldn't be sitting here today if it wasn't for Batman. I genuinely believe that. I don't think I'd have gone in the direction that I went. I don't think I'd have been yeah, I was interested, and I'd been to see him live, but he was just another artist, and I say that with all respect. He was just another artist up until this moment, but this is a real kind of closing doors moment where I went, wow, this guy has just blown me away with what he's done. As I said, there was a sentimentality towards it because of the Batman thing, but then I went down that path. I could have gone down that path and just Prince be another artist that I had in my back catalogue that I went to from time to time, but no, it changed my life.
I think that's the thing, especially for me. For me, it was. I think that kind of sealed at the Batman thing, but also then shortly afterwards went to see him on the Nude tour, and I think that kind of just seeing him live just cemented that whole kind of. It was quite. They say it was stripped down. Obviously, at the time it was sold as a very stripped down minimalist show. Now compared to Third Eye Girl or Piano Microphone, actually it was quite a
high production,
lots of dancers and stuff like that.
Yeah. I think it's stripped out. It was stripped down in comparison to Lovesexy, wasn't it?
Yeah.
Well, I think that's where it was coming from, wasn't it? It was stripped down in comparison to Lovesexy. Lovesexy was very all bells and whistles, and everything was thrown at that project. Whereas it's a very different feel, isn't it? The Batman soundtrack. It's very digital. It's a one-man band. It's very stripped back, but there's a lot going on, and we'll come to those tracks. There's a lot going on behind the scenes, but I think if Batman hadn't have come his way, he'd have done that project, done Lovesexy, moved on to Rave, and then moved on to Graffiti Bridge, and it would have been interesting to have seen what would have happened financially and commercially with Prince, and whether would have had the fans that he's got because of Batman.
Well, that's the thing, because Lovesexy was artistically incredibly well received, but I think financially it was such an elaborate show that it kind of, there's rumours that it didn't make much money or anything, and it really sort of, which is a shame because it's one of the best, shows there are. But I also think that I think he was talking about even cancelling it was the Japanese section.
Yes, the Japanese leg,
to do the Batman, and then they said, well, if you do, it's going to cost you loads of money in legal and cancellation fees. So he sort of carried on doing that. But I mean, that proves how much he wanted to. Do that soundtrack, and I think he was not going to take no for an answer. He was going to do the soundtrack, and he was going to do the whole thing. And it was interesting as well because we talk about the darkness, and we'll get onto that. But in a sense, he kind of had to lighten it a bit by taking out like Dance with the Devil and various things. Because it almost became, too dark. Too dark.
Do you think he became obsessive by the whole project? Do you think he knocked it out quite quickly within a couple of months. The album was done and dusted, but do you think leading up to that and during the process, do you think he became quite obsessive by the whole thing?
I think it's
possibly
perfect, I think it's perfect for Prince, because he's very much he's very into the Gemini
and then move on.
Yes, I think he had always had a love for Batman himself, didn't he? I think as well, obviously from learning to play it, one of the first things he could play. But like Jay's saying, I think the duality of the character, I think the same Prince identified with, creating the Gemini character, like you said, and he just ran with it. I think he did get obsessed with it a little bit, but I think he got obsessed with a lot of his projects, didn't he? I think.
I think that's the thing. He kind of got it done. It's quite interesting for me that he then went to Graffiti Bridge, and it was, like I say, it makes you wonder how different it could have been. But this, I think, was a perfect sort of coming together of the opportunity, and it put Prince right at the forefront, and it gave him a number one. It's interesting because his US number ones, there's only Cream that isn't tied to a soundtrack, because when Doves Cry and Let's Go Crazy, you've got that, the Purple Rain soundtrack, you've got Kiss from Under the Cherry Moon, Batdance. I think it's only Cream that isn't tied to a movie project. Obviously in the UK we had Most Beautiful Girl, but his ones that are tied to movies for Prince obviously go in the public consciousness, and they kind of praise him, and he was launched in a sense in the public. He hit that height through a movie, so it's kind of good that he he made this real part. When you think of Prince and you think of Batman at this time, you think of this soundtrack.
And it was
absolutely
20 weeks as well, the album. I mean, we're not talking about some one hit wonder. This thing was sustainable. It was an incredible success for him and Warner Brothers financially.
What was it, 11 million copies worldwide or something? Was it?
Something like that. That's a lot, isn't it?
Yeah. There's a big seller.
You struggle to see them nowadays. I mean, in some of the sales figures you see then, you just don't see nowadays. I mean, whether that's just because there's a different market, or the fact that not everybody buys the record anymore. It's all just find it somewhere else. But yeah, I mean, that you forget, people slate it. Like I say, 11 million is that's no small figure, is it? That's a serious. You know.
That's a massive amount. Yeah, exactly.
Yeah,
So
yeah.
many artists don't sell 11 million in their whole career. So you know,
No, most. By far,
most exactly. So you know, it's nothing to be sniffed at, is it? Really, it's
No.
really amazing.
And commercially as well, in terms of the success of the singles. I mean, there were what 4 or 5 singles off the album. All did potentially well in certain areas across the globe. So, in terms of singles, it was quite a good success as well. But I hark back onto that. I just think it opened doors that it wouldn't have had if he hadn't have done this. I think it could have taken him in a very different path.
And I think that's the thing. He also put a lot of effort in terms of, you think of the Party Man video. That's quite an elaborate production, and he had the money behind him with Warner's. You think of obviously the Scandalous, of kind of more stripped down version. He had the electric chair performance on Saturday Night Live. Obviously the Batdance video was through everything at that. So when you look at it and you think of Scandalous and you think of remixes, I think they did the Future, and he sort of put a lot into that, and he really sort of he had the money behind him to make those big productions as well. So I think it's sort of it's perfect.
Yeah, absolutely. Right. So should we get into the music, chaps?
Yeah, let's do it.
Oh, cool.
There's music as well. It gets better and better. Yeah, let's do it. So we're going into track 1 on Batman, and we have The Future.
I've seen the future and it will be. I've seen the future and it works. If there's life after, we will see. So I can't go like a jerk.
Guys, talk about the future.
That's quite a question.
It is, isn't it? Yeah. Well, in 2019, we're going.
I have to say, the thing I like about this is the orchestral feel. I like the way, I think throughout this album he very cleverly puts the audio from the film into it. It's like, what are you? I'm Batman, and it kind of really works so well. And the orchestral bits, I think there's a Claire Fisher bits as well. The strings, that makes, whenever there's a track with Claire Fisher, doing the strings, I think that makes
always raises
a huge bit. I also got the remixes. I remember buying the remixes on a vinyl. It was a vinyl, and there's a great bit where they do The Future. Is it the Mark Moore and sort of Prometheus Express?
Yes.
Yeah, and
that's right.
That's quite interesting. It was more of a house kind of thing, because Prince was hitting a little bit of house around that time. You think of this sort of time, and also a little bit later in sort of when he did Cream, he did a few house sort of mixes, and there's a great bit on that where it sort of breaks down and it's bow bow bow, and it's just fantastic. It's really clever how it's very minimalist, and yet because of the orchestra, because of the strings, it pulls in that atmosphere, and it's very dark and very, you can't almost listen to it without now seeing the scenes in your mind, of the movie. And I think the lyrics are very sort of a bit dystopian, a bit very sort of fearful about the future, very, very dark, and pretty pony standing on the avenue drinking 7-Up in all that kind of thing, that kind of thing, like
flashing loaded pistol, too dumb to be true.
And it's all kind of that whole kind of those lyrics are very ambiguous but very dark at the same time. You felt this foreboding sense, but you couldn't necessarily explain to people always precisely what he was getting at. But I think it's also a strange opener in a sense. I think it's a very minimalist track, and live it was kept relatively the same. I think the new tour, a lot of the songs he did, he sort of performed them, certainly from the Batman album, largely as they were. He didn't sort of do too much. So I mean, I think it's an interesting opener. It's not, I wouldn't say it's anywhere near the strongest song on the album, but that's just because there's some truly amazing songs. But I think it sets the tone, it sets the atmosphere, and I think it's a song that after that era, I mean, that was it, wasn't it? I think I don't really remember him performing it very much. Sort of afterwards, he sort of tended to, some songs he came back to a little bit, like the odd, Electric Chair. Obviously, Scandalous became quite a thing. But some tracks sort of pretty much their time was now, and this is certainly one of them.
Yeah, I mean, I think you're right. The atmosphere on the track is really good, and I like Prince's voice on that as well. The way he sings it, and the kind of it's not his lowest tone, but there's just it sounds slightly different somehow. I don't know what
Yeah.
it is. I can never explain it, but there's something about the way his voice sounds really cool on that track. And interesting some of the lyrics as well. Is he talking about ecstasy at one point where he says "yellow smiley"?
Offers me X.
You know,
Yes.
offers me X, you know, like he's drinking 7-Up, you know.
Yeah.
You know, so interesting lyrics in there going on, you know, when you listen to it. It's funny you mentioned the Mark Moore thing, yeah, because I think he heard Batdance and thought, hang on, Prince has been listening to S Express here, you know, this is like what we've been doing. And then
Yeah.
apparently that was the case. And then Prince contacted him and said, can you remix, you know, on this single? So it actually sort of went full circle with that. So that was quite interesting.
Is that the
yeah,
remix cover that has him wearing the bandage over his eye or whatever that might be?
That was. I can't remember if that was the future. Yeah, I think I might well have been. I was certainly
Future
yes.
Electric Chair. Both on the same disc. Yeah,
I believe it was. Yes, I remember buying it at the time because it wasn't that usual for Prince to sort of farm out. If he wanted to do a remix, he tended to usually do it himself. So it's kind of quite a vote of confidence. I think Mark Moore also said he heard "This is not music, this is a trip," the sort of the Love Sexy Alphabet Street, and I think he sort of said, you know, you can see that he was sort of, you know, going into Mark Moore's the area he liked. So it was quite interesting that he did that. And then I also forgot to mention the Sounds of Blackness Choir doing their thing, and just that whole thing adding to it is just atmosphere. In one word, it's atmosphere. Yeah.
Absolutely. Graham, what do you think of the future?
Well, I have to disagree with the Night Child, and that's not very often that happens because we're all in. But I think this is one of the strongest tracks on the album. I think this is incredible. This song,
Scandalous.
It's absolutely incredible, this song, and it's I love it so much. It's dark. I love the intertwining with the dialogue. You've got this kind of steamy, kind of ethereal thing going on in the background. I love the bass. The bass line in this song is just incredible. It's stripped back, yet it's so complex in what's going on in the background that it just blows me away every time I listen to it. It's funk personified, but I just love this song so much. I can't tell you how much I love this song. I used to love this song so much that I had to start the album. Whenever I played it, I started the album with Batdance. I felt like that was a better opener, so that I could then appreciate the future more. I hope that makes sense. I couldn't start with the future.
Yeah, I mean, you could have opened the album with Batdance. You know, it's very true. It's quite a strong, you know.
I always used to play the album in that sequence. I don't anymore, but I start the album with Batdance. When I used to record it onto a cassette for the car, I'd always re-record it. So it'd be Batdance in the future, and it felt such a stronger track. It's not the best opener, I agree with you, which is why I did that. But this song is seriously, seriously good. Everything about it is just amazing. It's a song that when I played the album to death, like we all did.
Oh yes.
But then I left it alone for maybe for a very, very long time. I left it alone because I felt like it had dated, and I hate saying that because it's going to be dated because it's 30 years old. But I now go back to it with a deeper appreciation than I originally had. But this song for me is just the absolute ball. It's unbelievable. I love it so much.
Fantastic. And with that, then we're going to move on to it just gets better. Incredible track 2, The Electric Chair. I mean, this is probably my favourite track on the album. It's got to be up there. I mean, this is just incredible. It's a stomping rock track. It's just, I love the lyrics. I love Prince, you know, it's just, I'm trying to think of some of the lyrics now, you know, what Prince is saying about, you know.
Who are you?
Yeah, that's it. That's yeah. All the time I was watching you. Exactly. Yeah.
Oh,
You know,
that's
it's like
genius.
it's just brilliant. You know, and if a man is considered guilty for what goes on in his mind, then give me the electric chair for all my future crimes. I mean, I just
Wow.
love that. That's just awesome. And it
Which
just
band have written that?
I know. You know, you know, it's just, oh, come on, turn it up. It's just fantastic. And then you've got the awesome Saturday Night Live performance, as Jay mentioned earlier. Just incredible. You know, what a great performance of that track.
Yeah.
It's just, this could have been an opening track. It's really strong.
Yeah.
You know, really is strong. I just love this track. Like you were just saying with the future, this one I love to death. And I just played it over and over and over. It's always used to go on my, you know, playlist or whatever back in the day. And even now, you know, electric chair straight in there. You know, I just, I want this album to be remastered and redone with everything put on it, and you know, get louder versions of this, because this track can never be loud enough for me. Louder, come on, electric chair. What do you think about the electric?
I would have loved this track to have been done by Third Eye Girl.
Oh wow! Imagine what they could have done with this.
I'd love them to have got their hands on this and done what they did with Reloaded. Let's Go Crazy. Because it's an incredible funk rock track, and it's got an amazing sound. I love the guitar sound on this. This has got that whole love sexy cloud guitar sound to it. I love it, but it is very 80s, and I would just love to have got his hands on it and tore it apart and redid it, because it is such a strong track. It's incredible. And this is the only track, which is interesting on the album, where I can hear Graffiti Bridge. It has the sound of Tick Tick and Can't Stop This Feeling I've Got. It's got all those kind of noises. It's got that sound, and it must have been very close to those tracks being part of the same project.
I kind of always feel that Love Sexy, Batman, Graffiti Bridge, there is a lot very similar. It's like a period, those three. There's a lot of things that intertwine and mix those three albums, you know?
Yeah. But I love this song so much. And what a travesty, really, that he never brought it back. Some of these songs have never been heard live, and apart from obviously around that time on the new tour, but there are some quality songs on this album that I would have loved him to have revisited. But enough from me, because this song is just incredible.
So take it away, Jay. Top that.
I can't top that. I think you're absolutely right about Third Eye Girl. I think that would have been a perfect track for them to bring back the heavy guitars, and they could have, you know, really made it heavier and rockier. And I think that would have been, you know, phenomenal. And he could have gone off into guitar solos, him and Donna, and I think that would have been superb. I mean, like you said, the lyrics, fantastic. You know, absolutely. Like I say, man consider guilt. I think that's just such a great line. That is such a great line about, you know, if you consider guilt for what goes in your mind. And you've got the trippy picture shoe. I mean, come on.
Oh yes, come on, yes.
What do you want? I think it was a great performance, and he sort of had a slightly different band when he did it on Saturday Night Live, and it felt like a new era. Apparently, I was reading some notes that he did this a few days. He sort of did his basic thing for this a few days before Pink Kashmir, so he was also on fire during that.
Wow,
during that era. Just like, you know, having those things. I mean, this is such a flashy, kind of showy guitar thing that I think you could actually rock this out for quite a while. And it's a shame, like you say, that some of these songs were in the era and you never hear of them again. Some, you know, it's interesting when Prince bought an album, I always just think which tracks are going to be the ones that he's going to carry on. And I love it when he pulls them back out, like he did with Something in the Water, and he sort of goes back in and says, right, I'm gonna look at this again, or even Let's Go Crazy Reloaded. But it's a phenomenal song. It's you know, most guitar laden one on there. I think, you know, there are some good, people forget about this because it's quite an electronic album, but you think of the guitar work on this, you think of the guitar solo on Batdance. You know, there is a lot of great work there, and even though it's a very different, stripped down, minimalist sound, but this is just infectious. It's just it's just one of those tracks you just sort of have to rock your head to, and you know, it's I think this would have been great to open the odd concert. I really do. I think you could honestly open a concert with this and just hit it hard and have the guitars wailing and with this with the kind of dry ice coming up, and I think you could do this, and I think, like I say, it's actually looking back, this is the Third Eye Girl track that I really wish that
should have been.
The crowd would have gone. Can you imagine? Like, if we were at Shepherd's Bush together, Jay, can you imagine if he'd have brought this out at Shepherd's Bush? I think I probably would have been happy then if someone had shot me through the head. And that, if my life ended at that moment, I'd have been happy because I got that probably the greatest hits of all the best songs I've ever wanted him to hear live that night. And
I've got to say that was
definitely be in that.
Well, that's the thing, because it's very much in a sense of like with Endorphin Machine and some of the Chaos and Disorder, the heavy guitar work he was doing, that would have fitted in, I think. And Bambi, he brought back Bambi. I mean, to me, this just seems like I'm surprised it didn't get that looking, because some tracks did get performed quite a lot. You think sort of Scandalous, Party Man, still sort of, I mean, I think, did you see Party Man and at the Indigo? Was it the Indigo? Did you do that one of those? Or was it a different night? I can't remember, a different night. But,
no.
You performed that a couple of times.
Did he interlace that with What Have You Done For Me Lately or something?
I get asked that all the time. but yeah, no, I think Electric Chair is just it's just a phenomenal song, and it's quite different from the rest of the album in terms of the heaviness. I think these two things do get the energy out, and by this point you're kind of hyper, but then you're also knowing this is Prince. He would usually do the third song is going to be, I'm going to break it down. Break it down.
Well, perfect segue, because that's exactly what happened.
It's got a very digital sound, this album, and I always get the impression this song isn't as digital as the others. There's something that this track stands out from the rest of the album in the way that it was put together. The rest of them are very stripped down. We keep saying that, but it is. But it's very. This is
more of a live sounding track, isn't it?
Yeah, it's true.
I think you're right. I think this is very much like a Chaos and Disorder. When you just went in there in 10 days and said, right, I'm going to rip through the guitars, I'm going to do this. Which, like you said, a lot of the other album feels much more electronic and placed. But this sounds like something you pick up a guitar, stroll out onto stage, and just do.
One thing we haven't mentioned is this album's a one-man band, isn't it?
Largely,
largely, yes.
Yeah.
All him, apart from some samples that he probably had programmed into a board somewhere for whether it might be the Sounds of Blackness or Eric Leeds or whoever it is. I'm just throwing names out there, but this is a one man band shoe. Hey!
I think Claire Fisher, like some of the things he pulled out were from like back in like the Crystal Ball time as well, and he just sort of he would Claire Fisher said it was weird because he'd record some of these things, some of the things he'd be asked specifically for, but some things he'd just record them and he wouldn't know what Prince was going to do with them. He'd just pull them out, or he'd put them in there and put them in this, and you record stuff, and then suddenly listen to something to Prince and go, I think it was Claire Fisher who sort of received didn't he receive an award? And they said, you've got so many sales. He's like, I'm on this, am I? Oh, okay, excellent. I mean, you just don't know. So do you think he got him in the studio and just said, could you just lay down this, and this for me? And then maybe 15 years later, he went, I'll have that bit, and then it's incredible, isn't it? I
Possibly,
yeah. The way he pulled him out, it's very difficult because he didn't want to meet him, did he? He didn't want to sort of see him face to face. And I think he sort of sometimes I think songs that he did work with and say, look, work with me on this. But I think Prince would very much say, I'll take that sound, or I could use that sound. And it's a very interesting way of working.
His mind was working like that. We all know his mind, we try to, but imagine his mind working, going, I've got a project coming up in 5 years. I need this specific piece of music to fit into that. Can you just go and do that now?
And I'll get to it eventually. Yeah. Once I've made this couple of movies, toured the world a couple of times, and released 6 albums.
Guys, do you know what? I miss him every day, guys. I find it so hard sometimes. I miss him every day, but thank God thank God I've got you guys, and thank God we've got the music.
Absolutely. This is what Prince is all about, bringing everyone together, perfect testament to Prince's legacy. Let's move on to track 3 then, because as Jay was just saying, quite often you get the energy up, you're going for it, and then suddenly this is Prince, he's going to bring you right down, and he does that with track 3 with the Arms of Orion. going to let you guys take this one first. What do you think of the Arms of Orion?
It was quite strange because I read a review at the time, and it's quite interesting when you read reviews at the time, because sometimes they date horribly and you read the review and think, oh, what they think, and sometimes they get it on the thing, but sometimes they are quite different from, because there's not been an established opinion. And the review I read, the first review I read of Batman, said Batman has some of Prince's best ballads in Scandalous and some of his worst in Arms of Orion. And I thought that was, incredibly harsh, because I really liked the Arms of Orion. I think Sheena's voice personally on that is fantastic. And the strange thing is, after Prince passed, I couldn't play a complete Prince song for 4 weeks. I just couldn't play a complete song. And Arms of Orion, I don't know why, it was not a song I usually go to, but it was the first song I played in full, and it just brought it out. And I don't know why. I think it's just the sort of imagery of being up in the stars and kind of that kind of thing.
Yeah, well said, Jay. Well said.
Yeah, and Sheena's voice is very it's heavenly on this. Sheena's voice is absolutely,
it's beautiful, isn't it? Yeah,
stunning.
yeah.
It really, and I think he worked. I actually think this is a very unselfish ballad.
He's giving her the lead, isn't he?
Yeah. That's the thing. He's working around her, and sometimes there's criticism. They say, "Oh, Prince has a guest vocalist on, and you can't quite hear her like Kate Bush, or you can't quite." But here, I think he's totally giving himself to service of the song, and effectively, although it's a duet, I kind of she's effectively really the lead in lots of ways, but they certainly work so well together, and he sings in a slightly different, I think, a slightly different way to the way he normally sings. It's not a very typical Prince song, really.
No.
But I think the way their voices work together, it is beautiful, and obviously it's very different to You Got the Look, and I think her voice just sounds absolutely perfect. I think it's actually also has a wider appeal, the Arms of Orion. I actually think it's one of those things that I think that kind of appeals to a lot more people outside of the Prince world, perhaps than Prince fans themselves. But I actually
Did you buy the Lover in Me album on the strength of this song?
Yes. I think it's I think it's in my vault, I should say.
I really like a couple of songs on that. I thought 101 was amazing.
Yes.
There's a couple of other tracks I can't recall off the top of my head, but the most impressive part of that album was the front cover.
Yeah.
Those red lips. I did that. That's weird. Those red lips.
Well, they graced the star of James Bond, didn't they? She's the only lady to sing on a James Bond, actually in person on the opening titles, isn't she?
Yeah.
Sheena Easton.
Oh, yeah.
She's the only one where you see her face on For Your Eyes Only.
Yeah.
I mean, people forget she was a big, huge
star.
Yeah. And it was quite interesting because she had quite a different persona before she met Prince. Apparently, they used to show pictures of her before Prince, and then sort of Prince really sort of Princified her.
Like he does. Yeah.
And yeah, I mean, the fact that he released it as a single, clearly, I felt he felt that there was it was a track he really liked. It's quite interesting because was this the I'm trying to think which was the B-side for I Love You and Me? Was it
Don't.
It's getting hot and steamy in here.
That's a track. I don't know. But
we're not going there yet.
I think it's it's a really great song. I think it's also
it's a beautiful track.
Good that he actually he made it about her rather than and so absolutely. It's I'll probably get a stick for this, but I like it.
No, absolutely, I agree with you. I think it's a beautiful track. It's one of those ones I think as well that a lot of people are afraid to admit that they really like it. And I always really loved it. As you say, I think the voices they just go so well together. And Prince's voice sounds amazing. And you say the imagery and the lyrics, and Prince saying, when I'm lost and feeling lonely, I just look to heaven. I find my comfort there. God only knows where you are tonight. That's just lovely. Yeah. I love that. Absolutely love that. And I always love this track. It is really, really beautiful and very different as well. Like you say, to a lot of his ballads. And I'd really like to hope as well that in the vault, maybe they recorded more tracks together that we don't know about. That would be really good. Because this is an interesting song. Like you say, a lot different from You Got the Look. And it'd be interesting if they did more. I wonder if they did. Do you know if they did any more together?
I would be surprised if they didn't, almost, because no one Prince is like. I always think, I know Ingrid Chavez has said that there's lots of tracks they recorded together that never.
Oh, really?
So, so I mean, lots of the stuff they worked on. And I think that I think that, you know, I'd be surprised if there isn't, because when he tended to get someone in the studio, I think he tended to get the most out of them he could, and I think he would sort of, you know, he would get as much as he could. So I don't know, but I'd be very surprised if there wasn't something in there.
Yeah. So Graham, what are your thoughts on the Arms of Orion?
This is a difficult track for me to kind of talk about, really, because it is a bit of a guilty pleasure, and I feel guilty in saying it's a guilty pleasure because it has such a place in my heart. This song, it's at the time when I was listening to this album intensively. This was the track that I would always go to when I was feeling sad or lonely or whatever, and I would put this song on. So this has a real kind of double meaning for me, this song. And I urge you guys listening to us rambling on about Batman to listen to this track through headphones, because it's a whole different beast in headphones. The harmonies are extraordinary. The orchestra in the background, albeit maybe an electric version of an orchestra, it's not real, but it's just incredible composition, and his piano playing in it is just mind-blowing. It's not a track I go back to very rarely, but when I do, it gets me right there every time. It has a very special part in my heart, this song. And as much as it gets slated by other people who criticize it for being too Disney or too vanilla, or all the words that have been used, I think it's a real shame. I think it's an incredible achievement, and vocally he hits some notes in this that I've never heard him reach in that register again. So, and just to back this song up, you just got to flip the disc, and you've got this incredible song on the B side that is just like nothing else out there that any other artist has ever recorded. I Love You in Me is just mind blowing. What a song that is, by the way.
Yeah, I know. Absolutely. With the stacked up lyrics again on that track. Yeah, it was, wow.
When we're making love, it's like surgery. I mean, what are you talking about? It's that B side is worth the entry alone, isn't it? So this song, it's a shame it didn't do better commercially. I think when I used to play it at home, the older generation would have heard me playing it, and they related to this song. It was much more in keeping with a older generation. I think
I think it's more accessible, isn't it, to people.
I remember my mum liking this song a lot. And she used to call it the Sea of Tranquility, which was quite cute. But that was always her favourite song by him. So it's a phenomenal ballad, but it just gets slated for being a bit too Disney, which is a shame. I think it's got much better. It deserves much better than that.
Yeah,
absolutely. Yeah, I couldn't agree more with that. Yeah.
I think also Sheena doesn't perhaps get the credit now, because from what I've read before, she's co-credited as writing the lyrics, but from what I understand, it was her initial idea, the kind of concept of the song, and sort of people looking up to the stars and stuff like that. So I think it's kind of, perhaps that's possibly why it sounds a bit different. It sort of has come from Sheena, and there's not too many times in the Prince sort of discography where, you know, there's been a true co-writing situation, or perhaps where somebody else has written it and Prince has sort of added, you know, he's sort of taken a little bit of a back seat. So I think Prince tends to be dominant with his work on some of the proteges, and I think this is interesting when proteges sort of or people who work with him sort of have more of a say. You do get a different product at the end, like with Ingrid, like with Sheena Easton and a few other people. You get a very different sound, and maybe that's why it sort of sounds different.
Even though he was
absolutely.
him at the time, I genuinely believe, just from the bits and pieces that you pick up, I genuinely believe she had a special place in his heart, and she's never come out post his death, has she? She's never come out and said anything about it. And I know she's now a recluse or whatever and doesn't really do anything publicly, but it would have been interesting for her to have had her spin on that relationship, because I think there was more to it than just a few songs Yeah.
But I think in a way it's quite nice in a way that she hasn't said anything. You know what I mean?
No, total respect.
She's just-
Total respect
yeah.
for that she hasn't dished the
Yeah.
dirt. I totally agree. Yeah, you're right.
Yeah, I think the only other person really up there like that who's doing the same thing is Ida Nilsson. I mean, she's just absolute respect for how she's treated it. You know.
Yeah, and I think you can see with you know, she like I said, she's doing what a musician's doing. She's doing her thing, and she you know, it was a friend. And people forget, I think, when they're talking about, you know, people who knew Prince. For some people, that was, you know, like I say, it's a friend. You could tell, you know, how close, and she just, total respect. She's just absolutely done it. I think she's doing what he would have probably wanted, instead of going out, playing her music, writing her songs, because he wanted. I think Prince worked with people, but he also wanted them to then go off and do their own thing.
Yeah.
And I think he likes to launch, and I think that was his thing. He wanted to create, you know, the work with them, and then say, right, you know, you've had this experience, now go off and do your own thing, show me what you can do. And I think that's, you know, show me what you got, if you feel like.
Exactly.
There's a lot going on in the news at the moment with Harvey Weinstein stuff about the abuse for women, and obviously the equality and pushing women to have equal rights and equal pay and all of that. Look at what Prince did for women. Look at how many women he pushed to the forefront in his career.
Yeah.
Throughout his whole career, starting with Wendy and Lisa, Kat, Sheila E. Let's just keep going. Sheena, Hannah, Ida, Donna. Where do we be?
Bonnie Boyer, Rosie Gaines.
He pushed. Yeah, exactly. He pushed so many women to the forefront and gave them a platform. I mean, we can even Carmen comes into that at some point.
I was going to say,
but he gave her a platform.
He gave her a platform.
Guy just pushing women to the forefront to say, look, these guys are equal, not bad for a girl.
Exactly.
It's incredible.
I think I read it. I can't remember who said it. They said that Prince, whoever it was, he'd give you that confidence that you go in there and you could do, you know, anything. I think they said even with Apollonia that, you know, she sort of started off, but he just gave her that confidence to go out and do it. And sometimes, you know, having that confidence and going to do that. But Prince, I think that's the thing about Prince. He broke down a lot of those barriers. He was going to have a band. It wasn't just a white band or a black band. It wasn't men or women. It was, you know, he was going to have. I think some of that harks back to possibly Sly and the Family Stone. He liked that kind of ensemble and having lots of different talents and different sounds and different people. And I think, you know, he was. If you had the talent, it didn't matter. You know, and
we missed off CC, Shelby, Liv.
Oh, wait, yeah.
Andy Allo.
And yeah, I mean, it's just crazy. Shaka Khan, Mavis Staples.
Mavis Staples.
Mavis is amazing. I mean, she's.
Ingrid, did you say Ingrid Chavez? Yeah, we said Ingrid. Yeah.
I mean, Mavis is. She's got a new single out now. And she's just.
Diamond and Pearl. Is that stretching it?
Diamond and Pearl, the twins.
Yeah, the twins. You know.
I mean, it is phenomenal, and I think also it's but he very much treated people as, you know, they have the talent. They do it. It didn't matter. It didn't matter what background he came from. It didn't matter what, you know, if you caught his eye. I think that must have been one of the most. I mean, I think like Donna, was it just a YouTube kind of, you know, video she did? But and if he caught, you know, somebody catches Prince's eye, then, you know, I think, like I say, he was a meritocracy in a sense. If you've got the talent, you and you actually look at the musicians he's worked with, and you look at them perform live, and you think, geez, these are some of the best. They really are some of the best.
Absolutely.
Well, you've only got to watch the Montreux gigs from 2013. Just watch the setup on those 3 nights. And just see the musicianship. I mean, he's just the conductor, and to see the musicianship that he's brought together there, it's just ridiculous. I have full respect.
Everybody know I keep a tight band.
I saw the first night again. I was watching it again the other night, and like I say, he just doesn't pick up an instrument. He's just sort of controlling it, conducting it, and the horns, and then the horns, the understanding how, and like I say, everybody's, you know, tight. They're all looking at each other and making sure and it's just I mean, you think how many? I don't know how many people there were on that stage, but there was a lot of people.
There was a lot. Yeah. I know, incredible. Right,
you look at the little. You look at little trio as well. They had, you know, sort of Shelby was there, Liv was there, Elise was there, and you think, you know, these are all you know, amazing artists just on their own, and they're just sort of like just providing the vocals, just those
backing vocals, yeah.
Yeah.
Just
Yeah. But they're not
It's
back,
unbelievable.
they're not backing singers, are they?
They're
They're
not.
much more than that.
No,
much more.
absolutely. Yeah,
Yeah.
absolutely. Okay, we're going to
Before we
move
get
on
on it,
then. Oh, go on then.
Gentlemen,
Yeah.
let's broaden our minds.
Lawrence. Oh dear. Okay. Right. Yeah. All right. That was the segue in, was it? Oh, I have to do that again now. Yeah, we're moving on then to Party Man.
Oh, hey, the new king in town. Young and old, gather round. Yeah. Black and white.
What do we think about Party Man? I got this cool little CD one of it, the single Party Man.
Wow.
Love that little disc version. And then this has
Love
got this was, yeah, there you go, because this one had the Fill You Up long stroke on it.
Ah, that is a
Yeah.
great song.
Yeah, tiny little single Party Man, little fold out thing.
Oh, see, people who only got the short stroke forget that the long stroke has that great bit when Prince sort of says, you know, in times of trouble, I'll be right here on the double, because whatever you want, whatever you need, maybe you can count on me because I'm a funky man. And it's just
I'm a funky man.
I'm a
Exactly.
funky man.
Absolutely. So Party Man. God, what do we think of Party Man, guys?
Go for it, Graham. Go on.
This is the best out. This is the best track on the album. This song. Oh my god. Okay. So this is
We've got him.
This is humorous. This is funky. This is playful. It's the 12-inch version of this song is just incredible, and I love that whole Joker play that he's got going on there. Yeah, I love this song. I think the bass, I think the vocal delivery, the funk and the piano are just so on point. And when he's brought it back live, it's just everyone goes crazy. This song is awesome, and I begged and prayed that it would get higher up in the charts. The video got very, very good airplay on MTV, and rightly so. This is a great
Yeah, it's a great video. Yeah.
Always makes people laugh, and I can't say enough good things about this song. But I will end it with the best lyric in the track, which is, and I'm going to put my glasses on for this so I can read it. It says, when it breaks, break it when it bends, you better not put it in. So if it breaks when it bends, you better not put it in. I'm going to just say it again. What on earth is that guy on? Just I'm going to hand it over because I'm too emotional. It's just an incredible, incredible song. I love it.
How can you follow those lyrics? I mean, what a great track! It's all
I'll go for a lay down.
Yeah, he's going for a lay down now. What with that and I Love You in Me? Oh my god, this video is going to need an 18 rating. I tell you. Oh dear. Oh my days. Sorry, children. No children watching this one. But yeah, going back to Party Man. Vocally, it's almost Camille, isn't it? With his voice on that one. It's it's in that range again, isn't it? It's been speeded up slightly. You know, it is just it's a funky track, isn't it? It's really great. It reminds me later on there were tracks similar with hornwork, like The Work from Rainbow Children, that kind of feel. You know, but yeah, it's just funky. It's just got a great beat. I just love Prince's voice, and you say the whole mischievous being the Joker persona. Because again, that's what we haven't mentioned, that all the tracks are listed as one of the characters of the film singing it.
Yes.
And so yeah, this one was meant to be the Joker, obviously, and it's just fantastic, isn't it? And the video is just awesome. I mean, if you haven't seen the video on the official YouTube channel, you should check it out on Prince's channel, because it is just so funny, isn't it? It's just so much humor in that video. I just love Party Man, absolutely. As you say, you got the single myself, the 12-inch like you were talking about. Just fantastic. There's some great 12 inches of that period, wasn't there, from that album? Just amazing time, Party Man. Jay, what do you think about Party Man?
Oh, I love it. I had it on the Purple Party mix and the Party Man instrumental, and I think this is a great jumping off point because he could do so many different things with one track. But it's like Graham said, it's humorous. The video is funny when he's sort of got the monkey and he's giving him the fake banana and he's setting fire to the kind of guy's cigarette and it's just blowing up, and he's just the perfect kind of party man. But I think this actually works because when Prince does a song that's about effectively his manifesto, you think of songs like Uptown or something like that, or New Power Generation, and this is very much about Prince. This is about the funkiest man in the world, this is what I do. And there's the horns, the 17 horns blowing. I mean, the horn work is absolutely fantastic, and you've got the bass, you've got Candy Dolfer on the videos. This has everything. It has everything thrown in together. It's visually very striking, but also it sounds amazing, and this you can be built into even instrumentally. When you listen to the instrumental version, it just sounds phenomenal. And the Purple Party mix really works. Prince was clearly into that. He was clearly into that whole kind of Joker, Gemini aspect. He really loved that, and I think that the fact that he wanted a place with no rules, no regulations. He was the king, and even the way at the beginning of the video he just walks in, this kind of
whistling
swagger,
whistling the Arms of Orion.
Is that what he's whistling?
He's whistling the Arms of Orion.
Wow. Wow, I never noticed that. Wow.
I just love that. He just walks in and they're like, party man, and he's just like, right, and the flames go up, and it's just and it's a full extended jam, and then at the end he's kind of, I don't want to spoil it for anybody, but at the end he's sort of like, everybody's been laced with sort of this sort of drink which just knock them all out, and he's sort of on the rampage and the police are after him, and it's just so and I think on the Purple Party mix, he's like, "You'll never take me alive, copper," and he's like,
right.
And it's just I think there's so much humor in it,
Absolutely, a little bit elements of Bob Jules there, isn't there? With that, you never take me alive. Yeah.
Because sometimes I talk to people and they're like, "Oh, he seems so serious, and he didn't seem very funny." He's hilarious. There's so many things he does. There's so much humor in it. And I'm surprised people can't see that because there's so much humor. And this sometimes
sometimes the humour, the funny things he says are buried in the mix as well. You've got to really listen sometimes to hear those little things, that you go, what did he say? What did he say?
There's a couple of things that I forgot to mention, and this is the whole museum scene in the film. I mean, this kind of you can't unforget.
The Flugelheim.
It's brilliant. It always draws you back. And and lastly, before you take it on, Anne, we were privileged enough to see the suit at the O2 exhibition. That was a highlight. That was a highlight.
That was the best bit for me, seeing that. Batdance, Party Man, outfit. It was just I stared at that for a long time.
we had.
I remember the security guard saying, "Come on, guys, we're closing now."
There you go. You know what? I went back a second time on my own. I just, I spent a long time then looking at it on my own, so I didn't have to worry about anyone else. It was kind of something I just had to do.
The report to him sleeping overnight were not true.
Yeah. Mr. Ant locked in the exhibition. Took me ages to get back from Amsterdam. Bloody hitchhiking all the way. Oh dear. Anyway, Party Man, fantastic. Yeah, video coming soon, that one. Yeah. So let's move on then to another great track. Track 5, Vicki Waiting.
Phone rings, it's Vicki calling. She wants me to come to the crib. See, conversations better than being lonely, so I try my best to ad-lib.
What do we think of Vicki Waiting? A great track, isn't it? This has got some great lyrics in it as well. Who wants to go first on this one?
I'll go for it. I think first of all, I love the way Prince rarely opens a track with a joke, but he does here with the joke about the man and his why is his organ so small, and he didn't realise he was in the cathedral. I think that's it's so typically Prince. I mean, obviously, the story is it's originally written for Anna Garcia, and it was originally Anna Waiting, and he sort of changed that song.
That's right,
and it was sort of given to her as a gift. And I think that there's an original version that's been sort of mentioned, that's out there of Anna Waiting, a very sort of different version, extended version. So that'll be interesting to see if that comes out in time. It's quite interesting because you hear it obviously in the background when you're watching Vicki Waiting, But actually, when we're watching Batman, you can hear it when I think is it the bit where they have the party and they sort of
The
yeah,
casino.
so
yeah
the Bruce Wayne's benefit at Wayne Manor, yeah, at the
meeting
beginning. Yeah.
Passenger, and and I really think it's brilliant. I think it's an interesting. I think the most interesting lyric for me is is my character enough to be one that deserves a copy made? And he talks about whether having children. You talk with children still frightens me. And is my character enough to be one that deserves a copy made? And you sort of you think about that, and that's quite a serious thing. You're thinking about do I want to bring children? I mean, obviously Prince didn't have the best childhood in the world, and he's obviously at that time thinking quite deep thoughts about that. And I like the beat. I think the beats are very different and sort of can really go on for a while. Little bits of guitar and stuff like that. I think it's really a track that it's one of those tracks that at the time I don't think got appreciated as much as it does now. I think at the time it kind of got overlooked in the more obvious tracks like Batdance and Party Man, Scandalous, things like that. But as it came on, I think it really became more loved by people. I think that also I would say that it's one of those tracks that I do like to just play, and you can just sort of lie down and really let it sort of drift you away. And I think it could go on for quite a bit longer than it does. I think there's interesting parts to this that he really was in a different sound for a while. You had the Love Sexy sounds becoming more electronic, and before Graffiti Bridge he sort of working with lots of different people, but here he was just sort of on his own, very much just him, and it's quite a personal sort of statement. But I think this is a really great song that as it's gone on, I think more and more people have started to pay attention to, and it's sometimes that's the way with these things. But yeah, it's a great song.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, it is. It's one of the strongest tracks on the album. It's one of my favorite. It's always in my top 3 maybe on this album. I just love the whole vibe, the feel of it. I love that the ding 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 ding, that little hook all the way through it. I love that, and the lyrics, the way again Prince's voice again in this album, it's very different. A lot of the tracks, the style in which he sings to a lot of his other albums. There's something, I don't know what it was. Is it this Batman universe that he's
because he didn't sort of use his falsetto as much as he often does. He sort of, he does a few tracks, but it's not a lot of the tracks, like I say, The Future, Electric Chair,
the Future, very
Vicki Waiting. It's much more his
mid-range.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, mid-range. It's interesting, but it's very cool as well. And it's just like it goes really well for that whole thing, to go with the Batman thing. It really does, especially on tracks like The Future. I think. Vicki Waiting. Brett, what do you think of Vicki Waiting, Graham?
Yeah, definitely top 3 on the album. For me, this is a Prince track. This isn't a Batman project track. This is the Prince track on the album, and this feels like it could belong anywhere in any other project, really. And we know it has a history. Lyrically, I really identify with the first few lines. It's quite relatable. I think the lyrics are really strong. I think it has a really thick feel to the song. It hasn't got that minimalist digital feel. It feels thick. There's a lot going on. This is a great headphone track as well. I urge you to do that. Very complex song, and I think it's an amazing song. I'd love to have heard him pull this out the bag live and do a proper rendition.
I think the only time I think he ever performed it was like was it like mid-90s sometime. There was a mid-90s, I think it was Emancipation era, sort of 90s.
Does it just like a quick 5 seconds though, or is it a proper track?
I don't know.
I've never heard a live version of it. I love to hear that.
No,
I think
I'm going to have to sort of find one for you now somewhere. Anybody else out there? Please.
You would think it could be one he could have done on the piano.
Well, yeah. Do you know what? I think there is a lot of piano in there. I think it's a very complex track, as I said, and everything seems to be quite buried in the mix. And I don't think this album. We haven't mentioned this yet, but I don't think this album has particularly transferred very well onto CD. It always feels like to crank the volume up on it, and stuff is buried in the mix. And with a very, very good pair of headphones, there is some stuff going on in the background of this with some guitar work and some vocal layers that are just mind blowing. This song is massively strong. It's huge. And there isn't really a bad song on this album.
No,
but
absolutely not.
This is definitely a masterpiece. This is strong.
Brilliant. Okay, well, so now it's time for Who Do You Trust? Hubba, hubba, hubba. Money, money, money. Who do you trust?
Trust, who do you trust? What makes you a real lover? Trust. I put this question to you 'cause I want you to be with me. Love, you cannot imagine.
Me? I'm giving away free money. Oh my god. And where is the Batman?
Take the pictures.
Yeah. He's at home washing his tights. Sorry. Oh dear. Well, we're geeking out now. We're geeking out. Okay. Trust. I love Trust. I just think this is a mad track. It's just one of those. This Prince's brain. This track. It's one of those that can only come from Prince's brain. It just. It's just madness. It just makes you laugh. It just makes you smile. You know, down, 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 down. You know, it's just madness going on here. You know,
I can get you the video and go and listen to it now, please. Is that all right? I'm just gonna...
Oh yeah, trust. What do you? You know, a great lyric. Trust. What makes you a real lover? Trust. You know. Just some great lyrics going on in here. I love the performance of it in the film as well at the end. It's great. It works really well. The only problem is it stops too early. It's like, come on, you know, ding, 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 and then that's it. Oh, come on, what about the rest of it? Because it just goes nuts after that. You know, it gets more and more complex, and it's just a crazy track. A joyful track. It makes you happy. I just love Trust so much. I really do. What do you think of Trust?
I love that. I think the lyrics are brilliant. Like I say, it's hyper. It's all over the place. There's some great lyrics about money, how much will make you happy. You can have it all if it will suit you right, but nothing can take the place of you and me kicking it tight. I love that bit where he goes, just let yourself go, don't put up a fight. Sex. He goes, it's not that type of party.
Yes, we're getting hired. Yeah.
And,
really?
I think that really worked. Apparently, they were using 200 balloons. That was originally meant to go in that bit. Now I'm trying to kind of imagine that scene with 200 balloons. I know you've got the balloons going off, so I suppose that's quite. But 200 balloons always people thought was rather euphemistic. So I don't know how quite that would have worked. I think Trust definitely worked in that context. But it's an up tempo, high energy track, and Prince could lay on so many things. I know this is something that sort of started possibly. I think there's a bit of it in Play in the Sunshine, but also in Love Sexy more and more. But certainly in this, there's so much going on that you I don't know how many tracks he laid on this, but if you could strip it down, it was ridiculous. There's so much. It's like he built it up and built it up, and then put another bit, and then you hear bits of bells and things. I think like the next track you hear like almost like snooker balls or wax, or and this track, you've got everything. You've got sort of these tinny bells going. You've got everything. You've got so much. It's one of those tracks you can listen to 10 times and hear something different.
Absolutely.
On something else. So I mean, this throws everything at it, doesn't it? I mean, it really does.
Absolutely. I mean, at one point you've got Prince in the background going, "Who can you trust if you can't trust God? Who can you trust? Who can you?" You know. Yeah. Then you get that little whistle. Pew, pew.
It is mad though, because it's not. I think, like I say, it couldn't have come from the mind of anybody else because there's so much going on. It's such an intuitive feel of music that I don't think you could sort of teach that to anybody. You could say this is not a standard song. This is, if you try to explain this song to someone else, it'd be incredibly difficult. And there's so many melodies, and you've got to do that and have it all intricately fit around each other. So I think that in a sense, and the way he puts in the bits from the movie, like the bit where they say get him, take the pictures, Gotham's greed, and he kind of puts that all in
perfectly, didn't it?
That really works, and I just it's perfect, high tempo, everything's in it, and I love the way Prince. This is such a Prince track. There's no one else who could kind of do this, but I must admit I don't know I don't know if you performed it much on that at all, because I don't remember. Sorry.
Never heard it.
Never heard it. No, I mean, I thought that the call and response bit would be great with a live crowd. Kind of who do you trust? And kind of that.
Absolutely,
that's it. Again, also, I suppose it's very difficult in a sense. It's such a complicated, complex, difficult track. You might have to sort of change the way you arrange it. But absolutely love it. It's high tempo and it keeps it powering along.
Brilliant, Graham. Talk about Trust.
I'm sorry, my head's down. I'm listening. I'm going to read one line from the words because I had to find it. and it says, oh, great, now I can't find it. Just hold there, guys.
That's all right. This is what Video Weddington's for.
Another world awaits us, another power to see close. Yeah. Don't worry about nobody else. From now, you'll be here with me. This is crazy. This song I wrote down. It's got cartoonish type samples in it. He's thrown the kitchen sink at this. It makes you happy. It's funky. And this is a really good driving song. I urge anybody to get it on and drive to this song. This is a really fun song to drive to. And I think I would have loved to have heard him interlace this with Baby I'm a Star and Play in the Sunshine, because those three songs are like a perfect trilogy. I think they all fit so well together. And I have, over the years, kind of linked those songs on a playlist. And I think you've got sort of 9 minutes of Prince personified in those three songs, because nobody else could have achieved this. And I think I don't think anything else needs to be said about this song. This is the brainchild of one man, and it's just phenomenal.
I think it's like I say, yeah, absolutely. It's just I think Eric Leeds does a little bit. I'd say the sentence really bad. A little of the saxophone. Alan Bliss as well does that, but I think the way Prince pulls it in, I think the way Prince worked with horn players on this whole album, because he kind of pulls it in what he needs, but he has a great language, a way of talking to them, and I think whether he would scat the line or tell them what they need, the way they work together. But like I say, this is an idea that no one else really could have had, because it's just not a traditional song. It's just it's like every sound, and yet it doesn't sound. It works. Yeah. It's not some terrible thing. It all fits in together, and that's an incredibly complicated thing to do. And it's so much going on. And yet he could do the opposite when he strips it down to a song like, say, "Scandalous" later on, where very minimalist.
It's like he's got a whole Looney Tunes.
Yes, and absolutely.
They just tip all of that into this box. Yeah, so stir it up, and there's trust.
It's like the Tasmanian devil let loose in Paisley Park. This is what he came out with. It's just incredible, isn't it?
Thank God for this song, because you said it could have been "Baby I'm a Star," or it could have been 200 Balloons.
200 Balloons, absolutely. So then we move on to probably the most unusual track on the album. This is one of those weird sort of Prince oddity tracks, really, I'd say. Lemon Crush.
All it takes a little bit of your ooh, pretty. I'm the wildest in the city. Ooh, pretty one. Come on.
It's a strange track, this one, but I really like it, actually. But it's one of those ones. It's like just one of those odd tracks. You think of other ones that he's done, maybe like not Wedding Feast. That's a bit far out there, but there are things like Man in a Uniform, Blues. Yeah, some weird, those odd tracks. You could call, you might even say Delirious is a little bit like that. A bit quirky. Those sort of quirky tracks. And Lemon Crush is definitely a bit like that. It's very intricate when you listen to it. There's little bits of, later on in the track, it's all this bit ding 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 ding. If you're listening in the headphones, like you say, hear all these weird things going on. I think it's so much layered in this track going on here. And again, this one's supposed to be Bruce Wayne, I think, is the persona on this song, isn't it?
True.
I think. I do believe, yeah. And I love some of the lyrics. Like if I'm working at my job, I'm the victim. You're the robber, no matter how much I try to stop her, can't help but think about your lemon crush. I'm ready for the crush. What is a lemon crush?
Well,
I think it's
interesting you say that, because I'll give some what's the word I'm trying to think of? I listened to the Peach and Black podcast about 6 months ago, and they came up with the idea that it means bitter crush.
Ah.
So you've got like you've got a crush on somebody, but you don't really want to have a crush on them because it's kind of bitter. I didn't really. I wasn't sure if I connected with that. Apparently, it was Anna's favourite drink.
Yes,
so
I've heard that. Yeah.
I've read that as well. So it's interesting. It's the song that I have the least connection with on the album, if I'm honest with you. I'm not saying I don't like it, because I do. I think it's great. but I just don't connect with it. It's the song that I would most skip, which is very rare for me to skip a Prince song, but it's the skippable track. I find it a bit repetitive. But the musicality in the song is just incredible. There's so much going on there. In the background, there's a lot going on musically, but vocally, I just don't get it. And I just would like him to have maybe taken a bit more time on this. Look at me criticising. I'd like him to take a bit more time. Better vocally to this, because I think musically it's got so much going for it. But it's one that I don't connect with. But in no way do I dislike this track. I think it's great.
So Jay, what do you think of Lemon Crush?
I kind of get what you say there. I do get what you say. I think I love the musicality. There's the totality of all the things going on. There's a little bit in the background. It sounds almost like a snooker ball or something. It goes, and it's just, there's so many little bits and drum. It's technically amazing. I think, like I say, this is very much about the music more than the track.
It is, isn't it? Yeah.
Because even the bits that sound cool, like "Do Me Baby" when it breaks down. It's not a song you think about afterwards. It doesn't seem like there's a lot of deeper meaning in that sense. It's something where the lyrics are very much fitted to the rhyme, and it's very much like that. But I think some songs don't have to be deep, meaningful tracks, and I think its position in the album actually works, because it kind of it happens before some more sort of serious and deeper songs. So I think that works. It's kind of a palate cleanser in that sense. But and some of the lyrics, like you say, are strange, like "Nay, I can't resist thee," and such a rush. It does sound cool, and there are definitely some cool elements to it. I always find this is has a little bit of a closeness to Trust, in the sense of the musical, almost not overload, but there's so much going on. There's so much to take in. Like you can almost segue these things in together, almost. In the sense of it's like I will on Chaos and Sword. It just flows, And I think that
the sequencing of this then is wrong. Then do you think that's a possibility, that if it was sequenced differently, that it might have more of an impact, because you kind of are emotionally exhausted after Trust? I don't know whether that's true, and then you go into this and you kind of, by then you want to have a bit of a breather. Do you think if they flipped Trust and Vicki Waiting, it would work better?
I know, because I think the thing about Lemon Crush is it's very obviously it leads into Scandalous, and obviously Scandalous is the complete opposite. It's like a serious, minimalist, meaningful song. So I don't know. I think Trust and Lemon Crush are quite similar, but I don't know. There's a lot of high tempo tracks. I mean, obviously you've got Arms of Orion and Scandalous, but I suppose Vicki Waiting is slightly more laid back, but it's still quite a fast tempo kind of album. I mean, Lemon Crush is strange. It's one of those tracks I think that you have on certain albums that that kind of, they make sense in terms of an album, and they're given that full production. But you think there might have been better songs, but did Prince perhaps think this was a better fit? I mean, but then again, what do? Do you put in Dance with the Devil, something really quite dark? Do you
200 balloons?
200 balloons. I mean, you could have thought "I Love You and Me" if you wanted to, I suppose. You could have done, But I suppose it's difficult, because also we forget that nowadays albums aren't listened to that way necessarily by a lot of people. They don't listen to the order, the third thing being a ballad maybe, or the kind of journey you undertake. People just listen to the track they like, or some people just buy the track they like and don't even hear the rest of the album. I mean,
vocal delivery on this though is really interesting, isn't it? The way he delivers it is quite it's quite a regimented way he delivers it, but then you've got that break where it says "Do Me Baby" and a really nice kind of
then it layered up again.
There's some really interesting vocals on this. So as I said, musically I think it's a great song. I just don't connect with it lyrically. I find it a bit odd.
Yes, it's got so many different breakdowns musically, isn't it, where it stops and then goes doom 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 doom, and then ding 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 ding. Where's it going?
I just have this image of kind of Prince in the studio on his own, moving all these kind of gadgets on the recording board, and it's like, and he's like, look what I can do. Because obviously he wasn't, I suppose obviously Paisley Park had been over for a little while, but he was still sort of, I think he was really sort of playing about with his gadgets and loving electronic stuff, and it's and obviously on his own, there's no one to sort of say, well, you might better strip down that, because I think there's people who said they heard early cuts of Love Sexy, and they were much less music on them. They're much more minimal and stripped down. So I think it's quite interesting. He sort of sometimes likes to play about and kind of play all these
Kid in a candy store, wasn't he?
and it was sort of showing you what he got. So I don't know, but then he also had the ability, like you say, with the next track to really strip it down to a track that could have been written a long time ago. So yeah.
So an interesting track, the oldest track on the album, probably the wee march of this album, like we would say. Yeah. Right, so we move on, and next track, the incredible Scandalous.
Come closer. Feel what you've been dying for. Don't.
Wow, this is just an amazing track. Again, it could be the best track on the album. For some, it probably is. It's just an incredible ballad. The falsetto is unbelievable on this track. Prince, and again, when I got this album, when I heard this track, this was one of those ones straight on mixtapes. Straight on a mixtape with International Lover and Do Me Baby. It's just, Scandalous, and Prince getting on about, about the foreplay part. I love that bit, so, let's just get down on the floor, wow, just amazing. I love this track so much. Great feel. There's some brilliant live version as well, isn't there, of this? I remember seeing him do, Montreux. And back in the day, he did this at Wembley Stadium when I saw him in 1993, he did Scandalous. It's amazing. I think it went well with Insatiable. They're very similar tracks, those two. But I love Scandalous so much. What do you guys think of Scandalous?
Well,
we'll get to this. Go on.
Before I talk about the song, there must be hundreds of little Mr. Ants running around in Surrey then, because of your mixtapes.
No chance, mate. Those mixtapes, I listen to them.
It started off with these. Like Lionel Richie slow ballad,
man. Hello.
Father Figure, George Michael, and then Scandalous.
Yeah. And Scandalous. What can you do? Come on in.
I've got one word to describe this song. Wow.
No, that's another song. You're confused.
Yeah, exactly.
This song is just got to be in his top 3 ballads of all time, isn't it? If you can name 3 better ballads than this, I'll eat my Batmobile from 1966.
you realise in the comments below we're going to get lists.
He's laid the gauntlet
than this. There's got to be up there in the top 3. It's lyrically, it's incredible. Vocal delivery is off the scale, and there's not any other Prince song that sounds like this vocally. I don't know what was going on with his voice at the time, but he has this sound in his falsetto that doesn't sound like any other track.
He hits ridiculous high points, doesn't he? In it, when he goes, willing to be, it's ridiculous. And he does that kind of gurgling noise as well that he does, and I always thought that was computer generated until Montreux, and he does it live. And I've never heard anything else like it since. What I will say, apart from the vocals, is the drum programming is off the scale. The drum programming, he doesn't get enough credit for that on this. I think it's just incredible. Layers, the vocal layers are extraordinary too, and he took that idea, run with it, and turned it into the Scandalous Sex Suite, which is just. I don't know any other artist that would have taken a 5-minute song and turned it into a 20-minute EP. It's just ridiculous. The guitar work and the sax work in that. Oh God, yes.
I mean, the guitar solo during it, very deep in the mix. The saxophone is just incredible. But as a concept, the Scandalous Sex Suite is just mind blowing for me. I love it. I play it a lot. Yeah. And I really love it. I love this song so much. This is definitely definitely. I keep saying this about every track, but
That's Prince, man. That's Prince. That's what he does.
This is definitely probably
Yeah.
one of my top 10 favourite Prince songs of all time.
Absolutely. But you just say that about the Scandalous sex that you mentioned there, the guitar solos. They're unbelievable. They're some of the best I've heard him put on record. Because Prince was one of those that most of his best guitar solos were always live. He never seemed to put them on the actual album. There's some great ones, but not, the ones that you remember, the ones you saw him do live, that are unbelievable. But on the Scandalous sex suite, it really is some incredible guitar solos on there. I love those tracks of the guitar bits. They're amazing. So we'll talk about the honey on the consoles in a minute, but
interesting. But yeah, it's a phenomenal song, and anybody on the comments after you watch this, please pick 3 of your top ballads. And I challenge you not to have this in the top 3.
Yeah, there you go. The gauntlet's been laid by Mr. Purple Music. Jay, talk about Scandalous.
Oh, I think you're absolutely right about the voice. There's a part where he sings, I can't wait, baby, I can't wait to wrap, I want to wrap my legs all around you. And he does this kind of high-pitched, I can't even describe it, it's kind of, up and down crescendoing effect. His voice is almost a little bit, the falsetto is like a little roughness to it, a little kind of, like he's pushing it. And it's beautiful, and it's very almost classic in a sense of the drum beat, the sound. It was rumored that he credited his father, John Nelson, but it's very unclear exactly what part he played. Different people sort of say different things about how much he played on it. But it's such a beautiful ballad, and it's also, I think it benefits slightly from the fact that Prince didn't perform this all the time. It wasn't overperformed. It wasn't a track that you became more familiar with. So when he did play it, it really felt something special. The Scandalous sex suite, as you said, is it's an experience. I mean, it's literally a whole. You put that on, that's your seduction night sorted out. That's it. I mean, the crime, the passion, the rapture. It's beautiful. When I first heard that, I had it on a CD which had Party Man remixes. It had the Scandalous sex suite. It had Sex, and it had When Two Are in Love. And Two Are in Love, obviously from Black Album, Love Sexy. Here, it went everywhere, didn't it? Sorry?
It's a strange one to put on that EP, wasn't it?
Yeah, I don't know why it was on there, really. Yeah,
I thought it's a bit of an orphan song because it seems to, like you say, it was on the Black Album and it didn't really fit in. It went on to Love Sexy, then it went on to this CD, and it didn't really fit in with Sex or the Scandalous sex suite or Party.
No, it doesn't.
It's sort of it's an odd song. It just sort of keeps getting passed about like some sort of unwanted child that no one quite knows where to put.
I genuinely believe with that song. Sorry to interrupt you. I genuinely believe that song. I think he didn't know what to do with it. I think he had obviously the Black Album, and it doesn't fit on the Black Album, and I don't know why it doesn't fit on the Black Album. Is it because we associate it so much with Love Sex?
Yeah,
it doesn't
maybe
fit. But it doesn't work on the Black Album, but it's on Love Sexy. But he kind of banded it around like this hot potato. It just never had a home, really, did it?
That's the thing. I think on the Black Album, like I say, it really stood out because the whole Black Album was very sort of dark and negative. Then you've got this kind of beautiful, tender love ballad in the middle, and you've got Bob George on the same album, and you've got a bunch of sex again, like Ryan. Thinking, what's going on here? And I mean, I think the best time it fitted in for me was actually in the piano section of Love Sexy Live, where he plays it, and I think it kind of really works. In that sense, it's a very stripped down piano song. But Scandalous is amazing. Some of the lyrics, like say, whisper a question with my body, I'll scream a reply. Anything is acceptable. Just ask me and I'll try. To hell with the hesitation. To hell with the reason why. And it's also bound up in that mythology of Prince with, like say, with Kim Basinger and him, and the relationship he had with her. He's clearly inspired by her, and she's sort of on that. And some of the bits she does on the Scandalous sex suite, where it's sort of like she's talking to him, and now you're blushing. Are you afraid? And it's sort of this. I mean, it feels really intimate. It's one of those Prince songs you listen to and you think, God, this really sounds like how a night at Paisley Park.
Yes.
God knows how. Like I say, when they filmed that, the stories of the honey and the then afterwards it went a bit sour, and the car had to be towed, and but that inspiration clearly. I mean, that's, you can imagine the candles being lit, can't you? And the video is very sort of stripped down in that sense, but that is seduction, perfection.
Absolutely.
It's one
I mean,
of
they
the-
kind of.
Wouldn't it be nice to see the video footage of that recording session?
Well, they kind
you're too young to see that. You're not allowed to see that until you're older.
yeah. They were kind of trying to do their 9.5 weeks thing, wasn't it? I think
Yes.
Prince was trying to get a bit of that, wasn't he? Basically,
Apparently, he was quite a fan of that film.
yes,
But you know,
Yeah.
it was amazing. I mean,
Studio A was never the same.
yeah. I mean, I just imagine like so the engineers coming in the next day and sort of getting the honey off.
They'd be like, what's all this? Yeah, I hope it's honey.
Yeah.
What do you think about the sound of his voice there? Because when I very first heard it, I always thought he sounded like he had a cold, and I mean that with all respect.
Yes,
But
it's a little bit raspy, isn't it? It's a little
there's
bit.
something
Yeah, very raspy.
Yeah, there's something raspy. There's something quite nasally about it. Maybe
Especially in the bits where he goes, I do, like that, and you can really hear the raspiness there, definitely.
very
Yeah,
emotional.
but it's very passionate. It's very passionate though, and a lot of longing in the voice in that song as well. You know, wanting and longing. You know, he's like, really, they say night of passion. I want this woman. You know, I'll do anything. I am more fantasy. You know, scandalous. You know, it's really coming through in the vocal delivery. I think.
Yeah, love it. I want to go and play now. Can I end the video?
We're gonna have another lie down.
I think also there's nowhere to hide with it with the vocals because it's sort of quite the song. You know, the actual musical elements. You got saxophone and kind of got the drums, but it's actually there's nowhere to hide. You have to be on it vocally because you are propelling that song. You can't hide, and he really is all. I mean, like I said, to give his falsetto there, that's quite strange because I think his falsetto, even towards the end of his career, was still remarkable. When you listen to that piano microphone, and you think that's crazy, but he just had that, just that power to propel that song. You could almost sing that song. I think Prince could sing that song with almost virtually no instrumentation live, and he would, it's just
absolutely, absolutely
amazing. Certainly, I think Graham's absolutely right. It's one of the best ballads. And definitely, if you put on the I'm going to call it the seduction sex suite, the scandalous sex suite, then you're fine. That's your night.
If you're right, yeah, no complaint.
Put that on loop 2 or 3 times, you'll be fine.
You don't need no Barry White when you got that.
Please make me dance. He's not responsible for any.
I'm not responsible for anything that happens here. Yeah. Oh dear. Okay, brilliant, fantastic. Okay, so we move on. Oh, so we come to the final track of this incredible album and the stomping, incredible single, Batdance. What a song! What a track! Batdance is opening. It was the first single released off the album. It's got elements of house music, sampling what was going on at the time. It got an incredible guitar solo. It's just an amazing track. And actually, I was surprised at the time that it wasn't in the movie. When I saw the film, I thought, "Where's Batdance? Was it going to be on the credits or at some point in the film?" And it wasn't, because it's like the signature song, I presume, for the album or for the movie. But it didn't make it on there. But incredible. But it's just a great piece. And I love the different segments that it goes through, and to the end bit, and he goes, and then you get all the samples coming on. Prince taking bits from the film, Vicki Waiting and Hi Bruce Wayne, and adding it all in. Just made an incredible track, and the guitar solo is just unbelievable. That is one of the best guitar solos he's put on a track. He just goes nuts on that.
Really
just nuts. Yeah, it's just ridiculous. It's unbelievable. Batdance. Talk about Batdance, guys. Come on.
This is the most notes that I made about any of the songs on the album. It's the most un-Prince-like track of all time, but it's the one that captured our imaginations, I guess, in a way. I don't know of any other song, and it is a song because the musicality of taking samples and making those musical is just pure genius. How you can take one person speaking, another person speaking, and merge them together and make that musical is just beyond our realms of creativity. I can't think of another artist that could have taken as many samples as he did and transformed them into a song. I can't think of any other artist that could do that now and turn an entire script into a song and interlace that with thumping bass, guitars, and a bass line when it breaks that just is like nothing else you've ever heard. It deserves all the plaudits that you can throw at this song. His meticulous nature to have gone through that script and watched that film numerous times, to have gone, that bit works, that bit works. I can't imagine how painstaking that must have been.
Yes.
But the attention to detail, the meticulous nature of it is just incredible. And I love this song so much. And it still sounds so fresh, even though the film is 30 years old. It still sounds so fresh. And I play this song all the time. This is my go-to song from this album. I play it all the time and I love it. I love the remixes, everything about it. It's just ridiculous. I can't, but I don't know why it's so good, apart from all the reasons I've just said. There's something about it that's just,
I know what you mean. It's
captured
what you were saying as well. It's clever, to you say, to get those beats, the right beats of the voices, that work together is genius, like you say. And also, it's interesting that he pays homage to 1966 Batman as well by going Batdance. You know, it's a nod to the Batman of 1966 and what he grew up with as well, which I think is kind of cool as well. You know,
I actually thought, before I saw the film, I actually thought there were samples of Adam West.
Right.
Because of the way that he interlaced that with the Batman theme tune. I could hear Adam West's voice. It's really interesting. But now you see, I can't watch the film and not hear the song. When you hear him say, she's out there somewhere and I've got to go and I've got to go. You can't watch the film and not hear the song now.
No, I know what you mean. But I don't think,
it's a work of art.
Absolutely, but I think you say if we'd had Adam West in it, I don't think it'd have worked. We'd be saying, you know, pass me the anti-shark repellent, bat spray.
I love that. That's brilliant. It's what an achievement. And the B-side is just a fantastic Prince song as well. 200 Balloons is a really good party track and one that's a little bit of an unsung hero. Really, I love that track.
Yeah, and Batdance as well, wasn't it? It was re-released at Record Store Day, wasn't it, last year?
Yes.
Which you kindly got for me.
Right there.
Yeah.
It's overshadowed by Batdance, because 200 Balloons, deserves more plaudits as well. But Batdance is just ridiculous. What a song and what a video!
Absolutely.
What a video! That's great. So I loved it, and would have been really interesting to hear him pull that out in the sample sets.
Yeah,
I think he could have done it. You know, I think he would when he does his little DJ sample sets. I'd love to hear him.
It'd have been made for that. Yeah,
I think it's perfect for that. It's exactly what that was designed for. But this song's awesome, brilliant. And track number 1 for me, not track number 9.
Yeah, absolutely. Jay, let rip on Batdance. Come on.
Wow, I mean, you've said so much. It's fantastic. It's the song that really obviously got me into Prince. When I saw the video, I always think of it as in 3 sections. You've got the opening section, the Vicki Waiting section, then the kind of what I call the all hell let loose section at the end, where everything just goes off and he's kind of looking at the electric chair and going from one side or the other and good and bad, and it's amazing. Like I say, to put those samples in. And to make it work is incredibly hard. And I was always worried when I think when you do that in most films, it really dates it. But this works as a song in its own right. You know, however old the song is, and it just works so well. The guitar solo just floored it. I mean, that was just superb. The keyboard, the jangly bit with the Vicki Waiting, the kind of guitar is just fantastic. There were so many sounds that he just couldn't do it. No one else could do it. Just phenomenal. I think you said the video, perfect. I mean, it's quite a long track. I mean, 6 minutes, over 6 minutes to really go for that. That's not a typical thing. But most times they say, well, we want a 3-minute song, 4-minute song. We don't want, and to put all that together And it is weird because you're absolutely right, because the strange thing about this getting into Prince is it's not like a normal Prince song. This is not any way like anything else, and in a sense it was a bizarre way for me to get into Prince because it's just not typical Prince. It's a unique song, and to like that and then go into Prince was going to be strange. I think you're right. 200 Balloons does get overlooked because of that, but I love that. There's some great lines about this one going cut so deep, gonna cut your soul, and it's kind of and that's another song where everything's going off and everything's happening in keyboards and things and all happening, and they're speed up voices. But the Batdance thing works, so well. Like I say, a real homage to the original Batman. But this is a monster of a track, and obviously number one, it really sort of got people to take notice again of Prince. And I think that just there's so much in that. And it could have been 3 songs. He could have separated it, quite frankly. And the remixes, some of the remixes, there's like a Vicki Vale mix, and it sort of focuses on that aspect. But there's so many bits, and it is just a phenomenal song. I mean, absolutely phenomenal.
I was going to say as well, what's interesting with Batdance as well is that Prince was the first as well to come out then with that movie hit song soundtrack, which later on in the 90s became a norm. I remember, Mission Impossible, the theme tune was turned into a dance track. The Saint theme tune, Lost in Space, the theme tune was on. And then obviously the later Batman films, you had, they had soundtracks. We said earlier, R. Kelly did Batman and Robin, and there was U2, Seal, Kiss My Rose, which is a very strong track. But I think none of that really happened, did it? I know you had obviously other movie tracks before then, obviously Purple Rain, obviously, and other movies had big tracks like Ghostbusters and things that were hits. But I think for a big summer blockbuster, it is kind of one of the first that sort of started that trend, didn't it, of a song that that went with the movie, promoting, riding the back of each other, basically promoting each other.
I think this film started the whole merchandising franchise, didn't it? There was nothing really before that. Ghostbusters was definitely one that I remember people wearing the T-shirts and stuff, but there wasn't the toys,
obviously Star
the
Wars,
mugs, the stickers, the books. Yeah, I mean Star Wars is a different kettle of fish altogether, but this was definitely one of those films that started that merchandise, and everything was. I mean there was there were stories, weren't there, of the posters being taken out of bus shelters and everything, wasn't it? The bat, this logo. And what's interesting as well is that people were saying at the time they didn't know what it was when they first saw it. They thought it was like inside of like tonsils, inside of a mouth or something. And that's really odd to me because I always thought, well, I don't know. I never really questioned it. Did you ever question it? Think, what is that?
I didn't until now.
Yeah, I mean, they were talking when you watch there's a lot of stuff about the Batman movie, documentaries on the DVDs, and they talk about that, and they say, "Oh, no one really knew what it was when they first saw it. It took a few moments to go, oh, yeah, right." We think, well, Adam West was wearing a very similar emblem on his bat costume, so it'd been around for years. So I never quite understood that, but there you go.
That's strange.
I think it's quite interesting because I think Prince kind of, in terms of musical soundtracks, perhaps people think he didn't do a lot of soundtracks, but obviously he did the Girl 6 soundtrack. He did this soundtrack. He was going to do the I'll Do Anything soundtrack before the film got completely changed. And he's actually contributed. Lots of his songs have been used in
Happy Feet.
Yeah. And that's the thing. I think I think when you give Prince a project like this, he wants to be all over it and and encompass it. And I think this is the perfect song, which, like I say, serves as a perfect advert for that track. It's perfect, and it's one of those things where, like you say, the movie and the album really works together, and they promote each other really. So that pushes the sound.
As a composer and as a songwriter, his method of working is quite geared up to being a film soundtrack person, isn't it? Because he could throw himself into a project, write an album, and then the film comes out and he could move on to the next film. His way of working is very well suited, and the way he just throws himself into it. I wondered whether he could have done that separately as a side project and fulfilled his thirst for getting music out that way, because he certainly has. That was definitely suited his way of working.
Well, that's the thing. Sorry, you're absolutely right. I think the way he works also very quickly. He works very when he's got a passion for a project, and like you say, you get it done, and then especially with the soundtrack album, once you've got it done, it's kind of, yes, you can promote it as much as you want, but you bounce off that film because the film gets promoted anyway. The film's going to be a big success, and that kind of promotes you. Then you do a live performance that promotes you know, like with these Saturday Night Live performances, the big Batman logo that promotes the film, so it kind of feeds off each other. And I think this is, you know, soundtracks are something that you know, Prince. There's certain ones, you know, he did obviously when Lisa went on to do quite a lot in there.
Really.
Yes.
So I mean, it's certainly something that, you know, I think his songs were used in films a lot more than perhaps people think. There's other Spike Lee films he's sort of done work on, and Bamboozled, and you know, sometimes it was more like the Girl Six thing, where you'll do a few songs, but it's kind of mostly songs from your career, you know, you've already done. But you know, I think I suppose with the estate, it's quite a big chance they're going to be used actually in the future for quite a lot of films, possibly from now on. I mean, it's something they might be more willing to do, because you know that's something that will make them, you know.
We're all desperate and craving, and this is a whole different video, but very quickly, we're all desperate, craving to see what comes. And so far, it hasn't been great. Let's be honest. And I hope you're listening, Paisley Park, but it hasn't been great. And I think you need to pull your finger out your backside and start having a look at this stuff and giving the fans not what they want, but what they deserve. And it's time you started looking at what was out in there and actually delivering.
As you say, this could be a whole different video, but just start touching on that. You say just getting every album back out there, get them reprinted, the whole catalogue available for everyone. Physical copies I'm talking about, you know, not just the digital. Let's get the physical copies of the albums back out there. You know, for people to buy, because if you go into a record store, there's 3 or 4 CDs, a couple of vinyls, and that's it. And we're talking about someone who made more albums than virtually anyone, and it's scandalous. But you can't get.
I played 2 albums this morning back to back. It was my morning sermon. I usually have a morning sermon of Prince, and I played 2 albums back to back. And I had somebody in the house with me who has got into Prince through me. And knows quite a lot through me sharing knowledge and albums, and I played 2 albums to that person, and they'd never heard them before, and they were the Chocolate Invasion and Slaughterhouse. They'd never heard those 2 albums.
Yeah, I'm not surprised.
And you know what, that is a real shame.
That was actually, ironically, that was the album I was going to mention. Like I say, Slaughterhouse, Chocolate Invasion, but even to the Joy Fantastic, you know, stuff like that. If you go on, you know, eBay, stuff like that, they're going for crazy.
It's disgusting.
Yeah. And people, like I say, are going to be, you sort of can't get into, and that's right, in the sense of before they do anything else, at least make available what's officially been released. I mean, that really can't be difficult.
What harm will it do to reissue the entire back catalogue physically? What harm will it do? Is it a cost? Is it a cost implication? Is that what they're worried about? I don't know. But it does no harm to repress things like the Gold Experience, Batman soundtrack, news, anything like that. What harm does it do?
Well, the thing is, also, I think if it goes on eBay for, like, say, I've seen them hundreds of pounds, the estate get nothing. Whereas if you're selling,
they're creating the monster by not issuing.
Yes, exactly. And they're missing out on the problem.
They're so short-sighted in that they think, let's make something so limited that it's going to create a monster. So, I don't know, nothing compares to you, 7-inch. Let's make it so limited that you can't even go and buy it in record shops, so somebody can sell it for £100 on eBay. That is not what he would have wanted.
No,
and that's the
absolutely.
Thing, they'd be better off releasing them as a tenner and lots of people buying them and saying, well, at least the money's going to the estate. I can buy the whole cat. And if they're a 10, you think, okay, fine, you know, that's a CD. But
or special deals or bundles of albums together for a set price or whatever. There's so many ways they could do it.
Wasn't it Love Sexy? What were the 4 albums they bundled together? Diamonds and Pearls, Love Sexy. There were 4 of them, and they were really good albums. And as a starter for 10, if you were somebody who wanted to get into Prince, what a great way. Buy a 4 CD set that's got those 4 albums on it. It's just a no-brainer. You haven't even got to make it complicated. Put Chocolate Invasion, Expectation, and Slaughterhouse on a 3-disc set for a tenner. I mean, it's not going to. That is not going to hurt anybody by doing that. No. I'm sorry we've come off piste, but I'm really. That's right.
But I'm just going to.
Really
absolutely. I'm just going to. I'm bringing it back round to Batman. Would you say that maybe next year, 30th anniversary, would there be something? Would they re-release?
Too short-sighted. Sorry, too short-sighted.
Yeah,
I
it'd be
think-
so
I
good,
think-
wouldn't it, to
I
have
think
a.
yeah, it's no one knows who owns this album, who's got the master, whether it's Warner Brothers or Paisley Park, whoever it might be. But it's just too short-sighted. No one will go, it's the 30th
Yeah.
anniversary of Batman next year, let's reissue it. It's just
Yeah.
too short-sighted.
Such a shame, because you can imagine a great reissue, you know, remastered, and also having, you know, Dance of the Devil, 200 Balloons, you know, I Love You and Me, Scandalous Sex Suite, a whole package, you know, the videos as well.
Yeah.
Just the whole thing. You know, how awesome
You
would
actually
that
make
be? I mean,
a
come
really
on.
good point. I
That's
mean, a
really,
good point.
really good idea.
Yeah.
Really
I mean,
good idea.
you imagine though, you get like one of those gift box sets where you get the movie, you get everything Prince did, like you say, the actual album,
Videos.
you get the videos, you get the outtakes, the B-sides, and you possibly there might be stuff in the vault we don't know from that time period that he worked on. To put all that together, you know, chuck in a poster. I don't know, chuck in whatever, if people want a DVD or whatever. I mean, you know, you buy that as a set. Chuck in a T-shirt. What the hell? Who cares?
Yeah, I got the ball game you can have.
Yeah.
You're all right.
Yeah.
It's all right, thanks.
Yeah, it really was crap there. But you know, if we can come up with this stuff, we're thinking about it. Why don't they think about it? That's what I don't understand.
Seconds to come up with that.
Yeah.
Yeah, and like I say, you could chuck in anything, a little badge, whatever. You could chuck in things, and I think you could have a decent set and think, I can kind of relive that whole era. And that
Look how important it is to people like you and I who are just Prince fans. Look how important it is to us. We're both sitting wearing Batman t-shirts. So, come on.
Exactly. So's Jay.
It's a no-brainer.
Mine's very dark.
The dark and brood.
Watched too many times, isn't it?
The yellow's worn off. Yeah. No more lemon.
Before we can conclude, though, do you mind if we just very quickly talk about the B-sides and the songs that were kind of not really put on? We've mentioned next week, but Dance with the Devil. Open it up to you two. What do you think of Dance with the Devil?
The devil is near. Can you feel his breath? Pray for death. The cure is trying. Always die.
It took a long time for me to hear this after, because obviously when people forget 89, there's no internet, there's no you can't go online and find out about these things. You can't, you know, people can't share them with you. You can't see them on YouTube, wherever. And so it took me a long time to actually hear this track. And my God, it's dark. It's really different. It's like I say, I don't know if it's been too dark for the but I mean, that's a powerful song, and he puts so much into it, and that's the thing that kind of annoys me in a sense. Like you say, these are tracks that the average person the average person won't have heard this. They won't know about this track at all. And there's so much stuff, and that's an incredibly, because he was obviously fascinated with that kind of Dance with the Devil concept, and you mentioned it and it's just such a shame it didn't even come out, you know, didn't push it onto a B-side or anything like that. And I just you know, there's so much stuff out there. Like I say, this is what a box set could do now, to bring that out.
When I first discovered it, I played it to death, and I can't remember when I first discovered it. I don't know how I got my hands on it, but I did, and I played it to death, and I loved his vocal delivery in it. I think his vocals are incredible. The lyrics are amazing, but I'm listening to it on a really crappy copy that's crackling and hissing and fizzing in the background, and atmospherically this song's got a lot going for it. It's up there with There's Others Here With Us. It's got that feel.
Yes
Really cool Prince song, and I love this track. The only thing I would say negatively about it is just a little bit too long. I think it needs to be shaved slightly. I think it goes on too long and you lose interest.
I know what you mean.
Personally speaking, I think shave a bit off of it and remaster it and stick it on the deluxe edition. And this track is just, anybody out there that's a Prince fan that hasn't heard it, I urge you to go and find it. It's an incredible Prince song.
Absolutely. I mean, it's just incredible. I say everything you guys have already said, really. There's not more I can add to it. It's just, like you say, the vocal delivery, the lyrics, the darkness of it, the atmosphere. Again, my copy is very crackly and fizzy, and it's not that great, you know. So I've not listened to it loads of times. I've listened to it a handful of times, but every time it's extremely powerful, very dark. It does draw you in. You just think, wow. Basically, you think, wow, that's just something else. It really
I
is.
think it would. I think it would have. I think there's lots of people out there thinks it's too dark for the album, and I like that word dark, but I think it fits. I think it fits really nicely with the future. I think those two songs are really hand in hand. They're lovely. They work right. If it was cleaned up and tightened up slightly, and I know how much he loved to tinker. He tightened it up slightly. I think those two songs match beautifully. They're almost the Gemini of each other. If that makes sense. You've got the future, which is really positive, and you've got Dancing with the Devil, which is really dark, and the future's black and bleak. I think they're great.
I think there were some moments in the film where it could have worked. Definitely, you know, there's a lot of scenes, you know, of Gotham at night and dark and smoky and stuff happening. And even if it wasn't just a lyric version, if it was just the music, a bit like Vicki Waiting in the background, it definitely would have worked. There's so many levels in that film and so many areas. Yeah, you think of Axis Chemicals, you think of, you know, when Eckhart goes and meets, you know, Napier for the first time. Gets a payoff. You know, there's different areas in the movie where I think
just when they're going to the church to the top floor, when you're taking her up to the top,
going up those stairs. Yeah, absolutely. So it really could have worked so well in that film. It is a shame, and you say it needs to be remastered, needs to be put on a deluxe version. Come on, Batman 30th anniversary next year. You know?
Well, that's the other tragedy, I suppose, of the problem with, you know, Warner Brothers and difficult owning it is, like, say, people who bought the hits didn't get to hear Batdance, even though it was a number one. So it's kind of weird to have a number one hits compilation and it leaves off one of your number ones because of it just frustrates me they can't just find a deal and say, well, we'll get a cut, you know. We'll get a cut. I can't believe they just couldn't just come together and say, well, we'll get a cut of this, put it on there. I know they put 200 balloons, but like I say, they could have, you know, put that. I just think, you know, like I say, the box set, if they could just, I think at the moment, possibly it's probably still too acrimonious, isn't it, between everybody to get together and put the differences aside and say, I'll take this, because I suppose, you know, different people own the kind of Batman concept and stuff like that. But at the end of the day, this is, you know, a product people, you know, would want to buy. And it's the perfect time. If you don't do it after 30 years, then
you're never going to, are you? Yeah. Exactly.
Are there any other songs around that era that we haven't spoken about? We've talked about 200 Balloons. Raven to the Joy Fantastic's an interesting one. I never really understood where that fit. It doesn't feel like a Batman song. I don't get it. I don't know whether you guys can bring any light to that or whether I've missed something completely. But for me, it didn't feel like part of this project.
No, I know what you mean. I think the drum programming on it is similar to some of the Batman tracks. I'm not sure where was it going to be in place of Trust. That bit there again with 200 Balloons. Was it going to possibly be there in the film? I'm not sure.
I think it was on. They said Partyman and Trust replaced Raven to the Joy Fantastic and 200 Balloons. It's kind of weird because Rave again is one of those songs we mentioned, Two in Love, that got pushed about left, right, and centre. You know, because you think of Graffiti Bridge, you see it. He's holding the sheet music. There's Rave, and then you've got Rave when it comes out. Rave, you know, Unto and Into, and it took a long time to actually. It was just it's like I was going to be in a point, and then it doesn't quite make it. Then it doesn't quite make it. And these songs sometimes are held on for like Extra Lovable. It's like it never quite gets
never gets a home,
the proper home. I mean, I suppose some tracks like B-sides don't get that, like with She's Always in My Hair, where they just sort of had that come, you know, had you written that perhaps earlier or later, it may well have been on an album, but it just sort of ends up as this little orphan song that just has to keep going, you know.
Maybe Prince should have kept all those tracks and made them in one album.
We'll call it the orphan album.
When you got a song
Extra Lovable.
Sorry, when you got a song as strong as "Always in My Hair," that has its rightful place in its entirety, it's in a singularity, I guess. But Rave for me doesn't fit on Rave as an album. It's bizarre. That doesn't fit.
I know what you mean. Yes,
album. They're all kind of, they have a sound, that album, and there are lots of duets and guests, and he's trying different types of sounds, and it's quite analog, that album, I think, from my point of view. But that album, that song doesn't fit. So I don't quite know what he was thinking there. But it doesn't. The concept and lyrically, it doesn't fit the Batman soundtrack. So that's why I never understood that one.
I love the evolution. Sorry, I love the evolution of the album and how, like, say, you make those decisions, because they can dramatically change. Because Batdance was the last thing I think actually put on the album, wasn't it? So you think how different they would have been with Dance of the Devil at the end. I mean,
Yeah, but I think was Rave already done that track because he was going to do that album, and then or was it written specifically for Batman? I think he already done it.
It was written specifically for Batman, from what I've
Was
read.
it?
Yeah, I might be wrong, yeah, but I think that was true. Yeah.
I can't remember. It always seems one of those tracks that's been around forever.
Yeah.
You know, because
Yeah.
in different variations and stuff like that, doesn't it? It's one of those tracks that just sort of, you know,
Yeah.
Prince worked on and he tinker with it. He's never really quite happy.
Yeah,
with
because I know there was talk of the Rave album back then, wasn't there? Or
Yes.
that
Oh,
time, you know,
yeah.
he was going to do.
And the gospel
Obviously,
album as well, being banded around
Yeah.
that time, wasn't there?
Yeah.
That's the strange thing, because I suppose also people forget, but obviously Batman directly affected Graffiti Bridge, because had he gone straight to graffiti and done a Graffiti Bridge, that would have been different, because he had this extra time to kind of dwell on it, add things, change things. So I mean, that album could have been quite different from what it actually what was. It bought this kind of extra time, and once you leave Prince, I think with a bit of time, he sort of starts changing things and moving things about. And I've got this song, I've just come up with this song. What about this? And so I mean, it could have been very.
Look at the freshness of Love Sexy. The fact that he knocked that out in a couple of months. So knocking it out quickly and just throwing himself into that, he created a masterpiece. But when I think you're right, I think when he has too much time to tinker, I think he loses not the essence. How can I criticize? I'm not criticizing. He loses something about the song, and I think you're right. Graffiti Bridge may have been a whole different animal if he'd have had that. I remember it being written down in the controversy magazines around that time that this trilogy was in place, and that it was going to have Love Sexy trilogy as part of Graffiti Bridge and Rave. What a different animal that might have looked like.
It's interesting, you know, talking about the tinkering thing. I'm just going to kind of go with movies here. A similar thing with Star Wars, with George Lucas and his tinkering with the original trilogy and what he does and what have you. And when you watch those documentaries, one of them makes a really good point about when things have got to be released and you're working for whatever a company and you've got a set date, and they say movies are never released, they escape. I just love. Yeah, and I think Prince might have been very similar thing, with these projects like that, It's
I think his mind was faster than his body, if that makes sense. I haven't explained myself well there, but I hope that makes sense.
I know what you mean. Yeah.
Written down 20 tracks, and by the time he'd finished the 20 tracks and he's composed them in his head, to lay them out on a soundboard.
He's already
he's moved on to the next project by the time he's even actually mixing those tracks. So I think if he had time to think about it, I think that's when it became overworked. And when we had that with Emancipation in certain areas where he overworked certain stuff or tinkered with it to make it fit 60 minutes. I think if you leave him to his raw, pure power, which we've all witnessed live, that's when you see the man at his full flow. And
I think that goes back a long way, because, like I say, even the For You album, you want to make perfect, but in trying to make it perfect and show you thing, you almost miss that vital, that essence, that kind of beating heart sometimes. Where sometimes stuff that you kind of record really quickly, like Chaos and Disorder or something, or something, or Batman, or when you're like I say, and Love Sexy. I mean, you get that kind of vitality, and you're on a mission.
Yeah.
And I think Rave was actually, like I said, there was going to be a Rave project, and the fact that it kind of crumbled away, and then you did Batdance, meant that sometimes these things don't always fit together. Sometimes it's Prince needs to, like I say, be project based. I think you want to say, I've got this idea, let's build this album, and then let's do it. Whereas I think, like I say, sometimes if you go back and you start thinking about things too much, and you don't, you try and make it too perfect, so someone can't criticize it. You almost don't want to take a risk quite so much, and sometimes you're better off doing these risks.
Yeah, because he said in a interview, the Dirty Mind era, didn't he? When he said about the For You record, he said it was a perfect record, and he said it's probably why I don't listen to it anymore. At that time,
Emancipation. He said something about. He said, people. Critics, they're not going to put a bad song on it. And it was interesting the way he said that. It was almost like he was sort of defending any criticism, saying that you can't criticize that song, that album and those songs. But there are some phenomenal songs in there. But I also think sometimes when he's going out there and he's doing something perhaps that won't necessarily be commercial, that will sometimes be, the different sound. Like you say, with Love Sexy and with various other albums, he's just going to do his thing in a very short period of time.
Yeah. Well, fantastic. Well, I think we've covered everything to do with Batman, haven't we?
Yeah.
We're going to come out of the Batcave back into Wayne Manor.
You know what? It's been a real pleasure to talk about something that's so close to all of our hearts. You know, and we've been talking about this. We've been talking about doing this for a while, guys. So it's been a real privilege to do this album, because it's not an album that the Prince community talk about much, because I don't think it's definitely underrated, and I think it's been a real pleasure to talk about it and dissect it, because it's a work of art, and it deserves more plaudits than it gets, I think that's perfectly put. I couldn't say it any better than what you just said there, Graham. Absolutely fantastic. I agree with everything you just said there. What do you think, Jay? I
think you're absolutely right. I think it does get a bit of a bad time, even in the Simon Pegg movie, with they sort of throwing the Prince CDs albums on. He's like, no, don't throw Love Sexy, but throw Batman. It kind of gets that kind of negative reaction. I think it is unfair. I think sometimes possibly because it's next to Love Sexy, I don't know if it's that, or there's some people very much in the zone that Prince was the 80s and that was his genius, and this was sort of towards the end of it, or somehow if you do something commercial, that therefore you can't put any art in it, which is totally wrong. I think that like I say, it gets very overlooked, because it was almost something that landed on Paisley Park. They say it's almost like a project that he kind of wasn't planning to do. But I think sometimes when you give him an idea and you want to run with it, that is the best thing. And I think it does get really. I think you're right. It's probably one of the most sort of unappreciated albums actually that certainly easily of the 80s. I mean, certainly, absolutely,
definitely. Absolutely, as you say, it holds a special place in all our hearts. It is such an underrated album. It's a fantastic Prince album, and one that, again, if you're new to Prince's music or have not heard it, you definitely need to check it out and find it. It really is, as you say, a work of art, and from a fantastic movie as well. The things just married, go together so well. I'll always have fond memories of that year of 1989 and the whole Batman thing, just the whole universe of that. Just fantastic.
Yeah, it was a good time to be. It was a good time to be a teenager when that film came around. Yeah, absolutely.
This has been MPG Trio Reviews. This has been Batman, and we will be back very soon with another review.
Go with a smile.
Go with a smile.
And now, folks, it's time for Who Do You Trust? Hubba, 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 money, money, money. Who do you trust? Me? I'm giving away free money. And where is the Batman? He's at home, washing his tights.